The year is 1940. Europe is on fire. Hitler's blitzkrieg, a storm of steel and thunder, has swept across the continent, crushing everything in its path. Poland, Belgium, the Netherlands. One by one, nations fall like dominoes. Now, France, the heart of Western Europe, has collapsed. The British Expeditionary Force, alongside their French allies, is in full retreat, pushed back toward the cold, grey waters of the English Channel. Europe was falling, and Britain's army was running out of land to retreat to. They are trapped on the beaches of a small French port town called Dunkirk. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers stand cornered. Behind them, the vast, unforgiving sea. Ahead, closing in, is Hitler's relentless war machine. German tanks have halted just miles away, their guns aimed. Overhead, the Luftwaffe circles like vultures, their bombs turning the sand into a hellscape of fire and chaos. Men dig desperately into the dunes for cover, the sky black with smoke. In London, Prime Minister Winston Churchill receives the grim news. The entire British army is stranded, facing annihilation. There was nowhere left to run, but in Britain's darkest hour, a desperate gamble is made. Deep within the ancient, chalk-white cliffs of Dover, in the secret tunnels beneath the castle, Operation Dynamo is born. Naval officers huddle over maps, illuminated by dim electric lights. Their voices low and urgent. Radios crackle with static and faint, desperate messages from the continent. Churchill, his face etched with exhaustion, but his eyes burning with defiance, paces the cold stone floors. In the darkness beneath Dover Castle, Britain prepared a plan not to win the war. Not yet, but to save its sons. The call for help goes out, not just to the Royal Navy, but to the entire nation. And the people of Britain answer. From fishing villages along the coast to the bustling river docks of London, an extraordinary civilian armada assembles. Fishermen ready their trawlers, weekend sailors prepare their yachts, and families wave goodbye as their small pleasure boats, tugs, and ferries are loaded with water, blankets, and medical supplies. These were not soldiers. When Britain called for help, its people answered. Hundreds of civilians, teachers, farmers, fathers sailed their little ships into the teeth of war. For the soldiers on the beaches, it is an eternity of waiting. The queues are endless. Lines of men snaking from the dunes down to the water's edge, standing exposed under a hostile sky. The air shrieks with the whistle of falling bombs and the rattle of machine gun fire from strafing planes. Explosions throw sand and water high into the air, each blast a lottery of life and death. Men duck for cover that isn't there. They drag their wounded comrades to the relative safety of the dunes. They do anything to stay alive. A young soldier clutches his rifle and prays quietly. Another stares at the horizon, his face a mask of hope and despair. Bombs fell, ships burned, but the lines did not break. They stood, waiting for death, or for deliverance. And then, through the smoke and the morning mist, a miracle appears. At first, just specks on the horizon. Then, shapes emerge. Not the great grey warships they had been praying for, but something else entirely. Small boats, a flotilla of them, chugging bravely towards the shore. A murmur ripples through the lines of men, then a cheer, raw and emotional. Some soldiers wave, others simply weep with relief. The little ships of Dunkirk had arrived on Armada of Hope, sailed by ordinary heroes. Civilians pull exhausted soldiers from the surf, helping the wounded aboard their small, overloaded vessels as the Luftwaffe dives again and again, turning the sea around them into a cauldron of explosions. 9 grueling days and 9 terrifying nights. The evacuation continues. It is a relentless, round-the-clock operation, under the pale light of flares and the glow of burning ships. The little boats ferry men from the shallows to the larger destroyers, wading in deeper water. The work is carried out under constant fire, filled by fear but driven by a spirit that refuses to surrender. From May 26 to June 4, 1940, this incredible rescue, this miracle of deliverance, unfolds against all odds. In the end, it was a success, born from the jaws of defeat. In a radio address to the nation, Churchill is careful to manage expectations, calling it a colossal military disaster. But as the rescued soldiers arrive back on English shores, grimy, many without weapons, but alive, they are greeted as heroes. In total, more than 338,000 Allied troops were saved, an incredible feat accomplished by a fleet of over 900 ships, most of them civilian. The cost was still high. Over 68,000 men were killed, wounded, or captured. Britain had lost its tanks, its guns, and its foothold in Europe, but it brought home something far more valuable. Its army, and with it, the hope to continue the fight. Dunkirk was not a victory. Britain now stood alone, facing the full might of Hitler's empire, but the evacuation forged a new resolve. In a thunderous speech to Parliament, Churchill laid out the path ahead. "We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." The spirit of Dunkirk, that blend of defiance and resilience, gave Britain the strength to endure. Soon, the Battle of Britain would begin in the skies above. Today, the beaches of Dunkirk are quiet. Seagulls cry overhead, and the waves wash gently onto the sand. The scars of war have faded, replaced by the calm of a seaside town. But if you listen closely, you can almost hear the echoes of the past drone of engines, the shouts of men, the explosions that once shook this very shore. The sands of Dunkirk are silent, but they remember. They remember that courage does not always roar like a lion. Sometimes, it is the quiet determination of a fisherman sailing into a storm. Sometimes, it sails across the sea on a little ship and brings hope home. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this story as moving as we did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more real stories of real courage. We'll see you next time.